All right, family, we are back again. This is part two. Oh my God, this cost me a crap ton of money. Um, we left off. I got the motor 80% prepped to be pulled. It's actually really easy. The thing that's slowing me down is I put on a few extra pandemic pounds. And so being out in the sun just wrecks me. And I've gotten really soft. I used to work out in the country, digging ditches. We'd go in early, so it'd be cooler when the sun was coming up. But then we'd still work till we couldn't see in the evening. And now I'm like, it's hot. I need to go into the air conditioning. And I was never like that before, but it comes with getting older, I guess. So we're taking back off. I left off needing to get the T-bracket off, so I will get down there. That's always like my least favorite part. I will pull off the one bolt on the shift linkage, and then my housemate will come through, and he has like a special bolt that's been like stripped and rounded off like perfectly, so it is the exact size to knock off that bitch pin that holds in the other rod in the shift linkage. That's what happens when you give me popsicles, is I eat them like a crack addict, like unendingly, just over and over. But I'm good, I'm back under control, I'm cool. I'm ready to take on this evening's projects. So T-bracket, just looking, just a bunch of wiring. That's easy, just a bunch of unclipping to do. Get my pinching hands good. Yeah, and we'll go from there. Because I want this thing out today. I mean, it can't be the craziest thing. Even though walking out into the sun, I feel like I'm that Furion in that scene from Chronicles of Riddick where he walks out into that sun planet. That's what it feels like outside. Didn't used to be this way. I don't know who to blame, but it feels a little warmer climate than it used to be. Just putting that out there. All right, here we go. I told you, it always starts out so innocently. And next thing you know, I'm double fisting these bad boys till they're all gone. And you have to remember that you offered these to me. I didn't do this to myself. Not taking the blame. I'm an addict. So right now I'm just going through here. And it's very nice because one of the things that we do that, I actually suggest this. Most things, definitely don't do anything I do. It's the wrong way. It'll make yourself blow up. But I suggest that you de-pin your headlight harness, push it through the holes on the respective sides of the car, and then run those wires on the outside. Unplugging this harness right now is pretty pain-free. VTEC solenoid, there's a couple like water and temperature sensors in the block, and then whatever you call this thing, a distributor. I'm just about to take off this. I think I'm gonna take the starter all the way off because that needs to come off just to be out of the way. It's just one more thing. It's a good place to it's a good place to put one of the chains for the engine hoist. I'm not quite sure if I'm gonna drop this bad boy out of the bottom or pull it out of the top, but I am cooking out here. Trying to think of what else. Being very careful, taking up the hoses to my coolant, as well as those two AC lines that go into the back. I've always been warned never to break that because I will absolutely just pay. Like, it'll be the worst thing ever. And I've always taken that at face value and never questioned it. And also never had to replace it because I've always been careful. So there's a few more things. Got this vacuum line right here. Idler air control valve needs to be unplugged. Yeah, we're cooking. We are absolutely cooking. Both getting a lot done and sweating balls. All right, see you again soon. All right, Zero's here, just using a massive pry bar. Add that to his bow staff skills and you got a complete package, ladies. Yeah, so got the wiring harness all pulled over that way. Got the T-bracket, all the bolts out except for one that holds it to the car, but now it's free. And especially because we're not dropping the motor out of the bottom, but we'll pull it with the engine hoist. It should come right out. I had my first experience using this very cool tool, which it's right in front of me, so I can show you guys. There you go. This is like a ball joint separator. Usually we just whack those lower ball joints so they come out, but I have blocks extended ones and skunk two lowers, and I'm like, maybe I don't want to bash this repeatedly with a hammer. So I use this. Scary, very scary. That thing pops in your face as you're just turning it with a 19 mil. But good. So both of those are off. I pulled, what are these things called? Was it? Oh, forks. Everyone knows that. So I'm gonna try to illustrate this. So this is one of the forks. It's on my passenger side where the brakes all messed up and having hella problems. And I took the 17s off the bottom of here after I pulled the lower ball joint. And then I went to get a 14 mil to separate this. And then so this side is smooth, right? Because it slides in here and then it should thread onto this side. And lo and behold, is that not as smooth as the other side? That 14 was just sitting in there, rattling around. I mean, that's not as bad as my white car, which one of the compliance bushings on the frame side, which is caged, broke off on the inside. And that's why I couldn't align my car. But things are going. I think the next step after that will be pulling this bad boy once we get the axles out, because everything is free from the car and it's just sitting on that mount and that mount. All right, that's how the engine comes out. Pretty simply. I think we only hit maybe right there, and exactly, it's just not exactly a show build, but I like to keep it pretty nice. And I'm probably gonna get in here and maybe clean that with some degreaser. Just kind of clean this, clean up some of the coolant we spilled and a bunch of oil. Once the axle is out, of course, it's gonna start spilling out. And I'll get that T-bracket out, because now that it's a bad design, because it'd be so much easier to access that side. Wish that would focus, probably my hand's not there, perfect. Without a huge manifold over there. But yeah, we'll get that out. Do a little bit of cleaning, and then we'll start working on the motor side. I'm glad this project is progressing swimmingly. And yeah, just in Zero verified that this bad boy is not going to spin. He's like, oh, this lower cover came loose. Maybe that's holding it. If I push it in, no, it's locked in there like ain't no tomorrow. But the alternator looks good. I mean, yeah, there's not like any leaks or anything funky. It's just super oily on this side, so I'm not sure why. But yeah, here we go. The project continues. All right, progress continues. I want to make sure you feel like you are part of this jam with us. But yeah, so I sprayed off everything. Degreaser for the painted surfaces and stuff like that, or bare metal for motors, I'll use Easy Off because it just cuts through crap. On my powder coated wheels, I will not use Easy Off, but on like factory OEM surface wheels, Easy Off all day, and it shouldn't cause a problem unless I think they are whatever it's called, clear coated. But yeah, I just tried to clean this up, make it a little bit better than it was. So now I need to change, because the post mount on the B16 is a 3-hole one, so I need to check that this fits the B16, and I also need to check that it will fit. It looks close, but it looks like it's going to be tight. So I need to take this one off and put this one on. Then I think I can use this GSR fuel rail. Should be the same. Cool. And these injectors came off that B16, so I will export these onto that while my partner in crime works on the clutch and flywheel. Fortunately, instead of having to open this one up, we have another GSR trans, which we had a B16 trans. If any of my 22 followers see this and have the line on that, let me know, of course, on here or on the Insta of Grams. But I have that clutch and flywheel. I think it's like a Comptech. It came with that bottom end, but I did run with it, so it should work. And when I said in a previous video, I know what it feels like to blow a motor. Here's one example where I blew the back and the front out of this D16Y8. I felt like it'd be easier to show than explain. This motor stopped turning, it seized up. So we obviously pulled it out of where its home was. And so that we could, I cleaned up in here, just degreased it, try to make it look nice. So I cleaned off my hood for the new motor. And that's why I obsessively collect these things. That motor over there, like actually those three are mine and that one. But But this is the one that's going back in. It's a little bit smaller. It's a 1.8. This is a 1.6, but it should have just about 20 horsepower less and should get me back on the road. So that's actually what I'm working on right now. And there's my housemate James. You guys should meet one day. I think you guys would like each other. If I get him on that Bible train, we could go like the Three Amigos, super hard. But right now he's working on that mount for me. I think the saying goes, you can't be both poor and stupid. You have to pick a struggle. Ooh, that's hot. So in lieu of switching the post mount on the engine, because like I said, the Integra is 2, where the Civic is a 3 post mount one. Or I could actually be butchering that and saying it backwards, but if you know, you know. Had this, I think it's a stock Integra one, and it would not fit in this like cheap aftermarket mount. So my housemate jumped into action, shaved this bad boy off, cleaned it up, so now it will fit. So we are back on track on said project. I got the fuel rail out and everything looks beautiful, of course, because they were working before, so they should be now. I just got to pull these little seals out of the back and then export it over there. Oh, here we go. Some more Easy Off. Not sponsored by Easy Off. And I would actually much prefer to have the generic brand because that stuff just tears through oil like a hot knife through butter. I mean, I have degreaser. I was using Purple Power earlier at work, which is definitely not my favorite. And I have this engine gunk stuff, which we might use next. So I'm gonna wash this bad boy off. You can turn on the power wash for me. Okay. Oh, here we go. Get some good real-time footage. This is the only time the grass has ever gotten watered since we lived here. We made sure this was a GSR because the VIN number says DC2 in there, which should be a 2-door GSR. It finally cooled down, but that water still feels amazing. Even when you're not going all Chris Fix and detailing the whole engine bay, it's still nice when things are relatively grease-free. Oh. And then we did our best, just the same as I did on the other engine before I sprayed it. Woo, right in the face. Shoved some plastic bags in the only place that water be let in. And the vehicle speed sensor is sitting there, and we might swap that one out for the other one. Not that we can't dry it out before it gets plugged in. So yeah, that's just finishing being cleaned. Progress we made over here. Pulled the intermediate shaft, pulled the alternator and the brackets. I was worried we couldn't use the belt because I have the Type R pulley, but lo and behold, I had bought more than one because they were only like $100. So I'm like, we need these things. So coming in here without getting too dizzy from spinning, his motor also has that same pulley, so we got that all installed. Intermediate shaft had the 3 shouldered bolts. I did it right. I didn't just pick any 14s and shove them in there. We scoured the whole garage. There was 1 single trans bolt in that B16, and we got the full 5 with our collective power. This is the power of collecting stuff. And as the sun is setting, it's only like 7:30 in the PM. So hopefully before midnight, we can have this running and out of the way. Hopefully sooner than that. Because I think once this trans is washed off, we'll check the oil level, then we'll mate it to the B16. For an idea of time, it's 8:30 about. I got the manifold off, things that we did off camera, besides getting this back on the engine hoist, were apparently the GSR and the B16 have different coolant hoses. So we had to change the style of hose that went to that heater core. We had to make sure we had a map sensor. I'm pretty sure our distributor will swap over and be the right sequence. I switched to my old VTEC solenoid because I know that every part of it was good. Switched to this fancy sensor. Sorry, it's so dark out here. I don't have very good outside lighting, so I don't really do stuff late. If you want good outdoor lighting videos, you need 4 real time. That's what he does. Like 4 o'clock in the morning, he's working, killing his neighbors with all that noise. Lower radiator hose is the same. Had to use one of the B16 one because the GSR one sits up front and this one sits back here. So most B series stuff is interchangeable. Switched over the starter, and there's also the vehicle speed sensor because the one I had in there just was sitting there superfluously not doing anything. And probably the biggest ups to these Harbor Freight furniture carts. So they used to be $11 before inflation, and they hold like 1,000 pounds, which our motor and transmission's not. So you can leave just the engines on, you can leave the transmissions, and you can just roll them around as necessary to tuck them where they need to go. Absolutely love it. Gonna drop back into time lapse real quick. It'll be quick to you, it'll probably be like an hour for us. I'm gonna get this motor back in and mounted, and then like a blind person, not make fun of blind people, but I gotta feel around in the dark because it's gonna be hard to see where all the connections are. All right, here we go. Sorry we couldn't provide a better view of that. We were working on getting the trans and engine mounts in respectively. I still need to get that one bolt in. Both the nuts are in, as well as the engine mount side is on. We had cut down an Integra mount. Let's make sure I don't trip. I'm doing this. We had cut down an Integra mount to make it work, but then it was too wide in the back and it was bottoming out in this mount. This wasn't a good mount from the beginning. We had to make it work. If you can see, even to make it sit flush, we had to add all these, focus, washers under there, right? And then we had to add washers on top of this one to make that bolt go down far enough. So we got this Hassport mount in there. You can see the motor looks like it's sitting straight, but the mount is not. So hopefully that'll work itself out when the T-bracket's on. But we're continuing. Probably going to discontinue the power tools in a second because it's about 9 o'clock at night. Ain't trying to piss my neighbors off once we get that one trans bolt in. All right, my people, we fought the fine fight like in one of those TV car reality shows where, like, you know, we had months to do this, but we're waiting to the last 4 hours to get it ready for the show. But we definitely weren't doing that. Been working on this all day. I got this towed here. I was back by about noon, and I was just taking a lot of stuff apart slowly and systematically because I like to go buck wild and some of the damaged stuff, and then Zero has to come in and fix it. So I was like, you know what, this time I'm not going to break anything, and I'm 99% sure that I didn't. Everything's back here in the front. I wish the light was better, but the fan shroud is touching the new header. So we were going to cut it, but I think that it can just burn off and be fine. I need to hook up a new ground over here. Sorry, it's so dark. I'm just kind of explaining through. Right now we're getting the axles back in. We're getting that all back together so we can put it back on the ground, on its wheels. But everything else is hooked up. GSR and the B16 have some commonalities, but this is 96 body style. So there's a lot of things that were emissions related that I don't have, that they changed later in the 99 2000 years. I'm pretty sure I have the support bracket for the airbox, and I have a stock airbox, but I can guarantee that I have a Civic EX hose which will fit, but I don't have a Civic Si hose. But I'm happy that we were able to make all this happen. I'm gathering all the tools. Tired, definitely not defeated. I'm proud of what we did. And this is where we're going to button it up. We'll probably have another video where we either pull this wiring, and we have like an EX wiring harness we're going to put through here that doesn't have like wiring for IAB and this weird ground that we don't know where it goes. And so, yeah, and then as soon as this thing is running, you will be the first to know. All right, I love you guys. Thanks for sticking through all this. Hope this video is not super long, but this is the continuation for that first one that was during the day. It's after 10 p.m. I'm not even sure the exact time. But yeah, have a good night.